Well, it's about 1 year since we got our well officially drilled and successfully hit water, and while it was a very stressful and expensive time, it's probably the best thing that we've done so far for this property. And I figured today we're going to take you guys along and kind of just show you guys what we have to do every time we fill up our tank and we need more water. So first step is just dragging this hose to the house. Our deck is right here. This is a 100-foot hose and it just barely reaches. So when we are filling up our house, we do need to have a couple extra lengths just to get that last little bit of length to be able to connect it to the house. So normally when we're filling the tank of water in our house, all we do is we hook the hose up from the well straight into here, and then this kind of runs it all the way up into our tank. However, we don't always do it this way. Sometimes we do actually flush out and rinse out our tank first, and then we fill it up, and that's what we're going to do today. So this right here is a filter that we ended up adding on, and we could have it connected here at the house, or we could have it connected right up where it comes out of the ground at the well pipe. But we have it here for right now, and as you can see, there's kind of a really fine filter on the inside that just kind of catches some sediment. The water that comes out of our well is not crystal clear, and I would argue that most wells don't come out crystal clear. There's going to be sediment, there's going to be iron or other kind of minerals and stuff, and we have tested our water. We know it is safe to drink. There's nothing wrong with any of the levels in the water, but it does have some sediment to it. So we have a filter on here which we thought was a really fine filter, but it really just catches slightly larger particles, and there's some really fine sediment that comes through the water. Now, it's not really that big of a deal. Like I said, we're going to be rinsing out our tank today, and that's what we do every so often, just to kind of try to keep it so that the sediment doesn't build up too much in our tank. We have looked into some other filtering options that we can use to try to get out that sediment, but we haven't really found anything that we totally love yet. So this is kind of all that we're doing along with rinsing it out. And honestly, you fill up the tank, you let it sit for like a day or two, and all of that sediment settles on the bottom of the tank, and then your water is crystal clear coming out of the pipes. So that being said, since we are going to rinse out the tank first, we do have to have our hose set up just a little bit different. It isn't the most glamorous setup, but we have these hoses which actually do have a couple of leaks. That's why we just leave them outside. They get hooked up. They just we're gonna drain them out straight into our yard, and then we are going to take our nice hoses. We're actually going to go put it right through our front door, loop it up over the lot into the top of the water tank, so that as we're kind of draining the water out of the tank, we're also putting fresh water into the tank. We're going to be agitating it to kind of stir up all of that sediment that might have rested to the bottom of the tank, get as much of that drained out as we can. You will very noticeably tell a difference when you're inside. It's kind of like an orange color, because I believe it's a lot of iron sediment is what it is. So when we're starting, it's very orange, cloudy water because we're disturbing all of that sediment, but after a while, it clears up really fast. And then once we see that that's cleared up enough, we will stop, quit draining it out, change the hose around so that we're filling it from our deck instead, and then that way we'll just fill up the tank and we'll be good to go. So now this is set up that all of the water, we can open up this and we can start draining all of that water out of the house first. So we are ready to start filling up the tank while we're agitating that water to kind of rinse out all of that extra buildup of some sediment. But first, we're just going to get this hose kind of flush out. Just as it's been sitting for a little bit, so anything that might have gotten in there while it's sitting, we're just going to flush out really quick, and then we will bring this long silver hose, bring it inside up through into the top of the tank. It's going to be loud. Good? Okay, I'll go turn the water back on.
So this is the brush we use just to go in there and scrub around as we have water going in through the top, and then we have it drain out through the bottom. So I just clean it up as we're going and just keep going until it cycles out clean.
It's definitely getting darker a lot earlier now, but we have our tank all cleaned out. It's coming out pretty clear. So we have swapped hoses and we are now just filling up the house how we normally do it. So from the well, we have our single long gray hose that attaches to the white to give us that extra length, which is then hooked up to our filter going into the house, and then it kind of goes up the wall right here, up into our tank. So from inside, this is what it looks like. We just kind of watch. You can kind of see the water level right there. It's pretty clear water, so it's a little hard to see, but we simply just watch it climb up the tank, and once it gets about to that shoulder, then we just turn it off. Since we are preparing for the frost and the freeze and the snow, we are going to kind of winterize everything too though. So this filter, we're gonna take that off, completely unscrew it from the house, and then up top right by the tank, right before the pipe that comes down to feed this hose right now, we have it so that it can both get fed up and so that it can drain out. So we are going to, at the top, close that off, drain all of this water out so there's no water sitting in that kind of faucet that's coming out of the house. And then we did just build that little kind of well cover so we can store the hose out there, but being that it's going to be winter time now, unfortunately, we only got a couple weeks out of that, and we are going to have to start storing the hose actually in the house so it doesn't freeze, and just so that the plastic that the hose is made out of doesn't deteriorate, kind of bending it and moving it around in that frozen weather. We're getting close. Now that our tank is all the way filled up, we went ahead and upstairs in the loft, we turned our shutoff valve so that is closed, so water can no longer come out of the tank and down through this pipe. But we are going to open up this one so we can drain all the water that's in this pipe in the wall, and in this spigot we can kind of drain that out. And then this kettle is not really for drinking water anymore, so we are also going to open up this one and drain the spin down filter. So this is what the inside of our spin down filter looks like. As you can see, there's some of that orange sediment that's really fine. And this is the filter that's fine, that catches some of the larger chunks, but it doesn't filter out the super fine stuff. So we're going to get this all rinsed off and cleaned up before we put it back in the spin down filter to use next time. This is something that it is one of our options. We can get a finer filter to go on this. But again, we just aren't really sold 100% yet on any of the filtration methods. So we're going to kind of keep looking into it. And until we make our decision, this is just kind of how we're doing things. And then the last thing on the to-do list is to just wrap up all of these hoses. This blue one and black one that kind of has the leak in it, that's just going to stay outside. We're not going to be worried about it. But this long silver one that's 100 feet, that's going to get wrapped up and stored inside for the winter time.